Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. It's good to have you guys back here to the channel. So in today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing you guys how to actually make this bag. It's a shoulder bag. You could also add a long strap if you want, but I just like the way it is. So if this is something you'd like to see, please stay tuned to the channel and let's go straight into the class of the day. So guys, first things first is I am going to be drafting out the pattern. So for this pattern drafting, I'm going to be using an A4 paper to draft out the pattern. The reason why I'm using an A4 paper is because I want it to be a little bit more explanatory than usual. So for this tutorial, it's a wider bag. It's a wider bag. So you could use 9 inches, 10 inches, 11 inches, depending on how wide you want it to be. But me, I am using 10 inches. Okay, I'm using 10 inches. So for the height of the bag, you could use 5 inches, 5.5 inches and 6 inches, depending on how big you want it to be. But I am using 5.5 inches. So in a nutshell, the measurement I am using for this bag is 10 inches by 5.5 inches. So I went ahead and marked out all my lines on my A4 paper using my pencil. Then I am now going to be using my scissors to cut it out. Okay, so I'm just going to be cutting exactly on the line. Okay, so after I cut it out, this is what it looks like. So this is the part I'm going to be using. So I'm going to be folding it into two in order for me to have equal measurements on both ends when I want to make my design. So on the open end, I'm going to be measuring half inches. Okay, I'm going to be measuring half inches at one top. Then I'm going to be using my ruler to make a slant from that half inches that I measure on one end. Then I'm going to make a slant to the other end. Okay, so at the other bottom where my slant is, I'm going to be making a 1 inches curve, 1 by 1 inches curve. You could curve it without actually measuring, but if in case you don't want the curve to be too deep or too small, you could actually use 1 by 1 inches. Then you make your curve, then you cut a the paper following the lines. Okay, so it's very essential you do this. Okay, so after you're done, this is actually the first and second body. Okay, this first and second body. So you go ahead and use this pattern to cut out your material. So I am using, because I'm using a light leather, I'm going to be using a two-faced leather to actually stabilize it, and also use the two-faced leather as a lining. You can use a stabilizer, or you can just use an ordinary leather if your leather is thick, or you can use a two-faced leather. So I went ahead and cut out the two-faced leather two places. Okay, I cut it out two places. Now the next thing I want to be doing now is I want to be measuring. I want to be cutting out the flap. Okay, so I'm going to be cutting it out at 10 inches as well. I'll be cutting it out at 10 inches for the width. Then for the length, you determine the length you want the flap to be. Okay, so from my calculations, I wanted the flap to be not too up, not too down, just in between. Okay, just at the middle. So you see what I am doing. I'm just trying to get how much I want the flap to be. So I just drew a line at the pattern paper, and when I measured, I had 3 inches. So like 3 inches was just right for me. So I'm going to be measuring that 3 inches on my pattern paper like this. Now the next thing I'm going to be doing is, after that 3 inches, I'm going to be marking 1.5 inches. That is going to be the top of the bag. Okay, the top of the bag. So after I measured that 1.5 inches, the next thing I'm going to be marking is half inches, which is going to be the overlay. Okay, the overlay of the flap and the back body. Since the flap and the back body and the top are not connected, we need to add extra half inches for our overlay, so that when we overlay it, our flap will not be too small. I just hope you understand what I'm saying. So in a nutshell, I am cutting out 5 inches, 3 inches for the flap, 1.5 inches for the top, and half inches for the overlay. So I'm cutting out 5 inches. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and draw a straight lines for to just signify what I have measured. So I'm just labeling them so that you'll be able to see what I am doing. So this is flap 3 inches, top 1.5 inches, and overlay a half inches. So I'm going to be cutting it out at the overlay. I'm not cutting out the rest, so it's only that these points I am going to be cutting. Okay, so when I was done, I am going to be folding it into two again. Then I'm going to be removing the half inches that I removed from our main body, so that the slant will rhyme. Okay, so that the slant will rhyme. And I'm also going to be making a slight curve at the bottom as well, so that it will not be standing on its own. Okay, so I'm going to be making a slight curve so that it will not just be standing, not be doing pointy. To not be doing points. Okay, so I'm going to be doing the curve like this. So what I'm still going to go ahead and do now, before I go ahead and cut it out on my pattern, on my actual fabric, is I'm going to be folding it like this. Then I am now going to be showing you how it looks like on the leather when you put it. So this is what it should look like. Now, the next thing that is remaining to do is to get the curve at the back of the overlay. You don't want it to look all straight. Okay, so what you're going to go ahead and do is you're going to be measuring 1 inches like this. Then from the half inches where the overlay starts, you are going to be drawing a straight line to connect the 1 inches. Then you are going to be cutting it out. So at the end of the day, this is what it should looks like. Okay, so I'm just making tiny notch so that it will not look pointy. So this is what it looks like at the end of the day. Okay, you see our slants there. So that is where you are going to be overlaying. Now I also noticed that the flap was a bit wider than the main body. So what I am going to go ahead and do now is I am going to be using the actual body I cut out to trim the flap. So I am putting my body and the flap together so that I'll be able to trim off the excess. Okay, I just hope you understand what I'm saying. I'm going to trim off the excess like this. Then I'll cut it from the beginning to the end. But if your own is just right, you don't have to do this trimming. But since my own was a bit bigger, so I decided to do this trimming, so that at the end of the day, when I am done sewing the bag, the flap will not be off course. Okay, so when I was done, the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do now is to cut it out on my two-phase leather. Okay, to cut it out on my two-phase leather. So I hope you're understanding what I am saying, and I hope this video is at least explanatory. I hope the pattern drafting of this bag is explanatory, because the bag is a let me see, 1 2 3 4. The side is different. This is the flap, which is different. The body is different, and this third body is also different. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do now is to measure the side all round, so that I'll know the length of the fabric I'm going to be cutting out for the side. So I'm just going to be measuring like this. Okay, keep measuring, make sure you are measuring just right. So I measured all the way to half, because I'm going to be cutting my fabric on fold. Okay, so I cut out the leather, and the width of the bag I want to use, since the top is 1.5 inches, now you are going to be adding 1 inches to the top. Okay, so our top is 1.5 inches, so you are going to be cutting out your flap at 3 inches. You'll be adding 1.5 inches, because the width of the bag is determined by you. Can do 2 inches, you can do 2.5 inches, you can do 3 inches, but I decided to do 3 inches so that the bag will be a bit spacious. But mind you, when you cut out your fabric at 3 inches, you are now going to fold it into two, the way I folded it like this. Then from the middle part, you are going to be measuring 3/4 of an inch. Okay, 3/4 of an inch to actually achieve your 1.5 inches, so that when you open the bag like this, you are going to be having 1.5 inches left. Okay, you're going to be having 1.5 inches left. And remember, there's also an overlay. Okay, there's also an overlay on the bag. So at the end of the day, you should be having 2 inches left at the top of your bag, so that when you put 3/4 of an inch here, 3/4 of an inch here, it will stay perfectly. So after we are done with all the cutting, I cut out the zipper panel, which was actually 1 inches, 1 inches in two places. Then I cut that out, and I cut it out at 7 inches by 1 inches in two places. So now this is just me rubbing gums on my two panels so that I'll be able to join them together. This is honestly optional. Okay, if you are using a more thicker fabric, or you intend to use only two-faced leather for this project, you don't have to use gum to gum the two panels together. But because I don't want to use lining for this work, I want this two-faced leather to actually be the lining. That is why I am going to be gumming this like this. But like I said, if you are using only a two-face, it means you don't have to put a lining. But if you are using a colorful leather that has a wrong side, like this leather that I'm putting gum, then you can add lining. The material you use is what's it called, is to your preference. Okay, so you don't have to do what I do. So this is just me putting all the panels together, and I am just cutting it out so that everything go marama. That's the word. So I'm going to be arranging it nicely. Okay, I'm going to be arranging it nicely. So thank you guys for tuning into the channel once again. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you for always coming back. I love you and God bless you. And if you're just tuning into the channel for the very first time, you are highly welcome to this amazing channel. In this channel, I teach bag making tutorials, everything bag making, from tote bags, lunch bags, fashion bags, slant bag, crossbody bags, travel bags, everything bag making, from office bags to padded bags, structured bags. As long as it's bag, this channel is all about it. So if you are a fashion lover just like me, or you are a bag lover just like me, then click on the subscribe button and also the notification bell so that you get notified whenever I post in new tutorials. Because on this channel, I've got many more amazing tutorials to show you guys, and there are many more amazing tutorials on the channel already that I'm sure you will learn one or two from. So click on the subscribe button so that we'll grow this channel together. So as you can see, I am cutting the leather all the way to the extreme end. Okay, I am not leaving any space while cutting the leather. That's because I told you I am just doing an overlay. So I'm going to trim the rest the same way I trimmed that first one, and this is what it looks like. So make sure you use your hammer to go hit everything so that when you are sewing, it will not unravel. So I told you I was going to be cutting out my fabric on fold, but since my fabric was not enough, I decided to cut out two, and I'm going to stitch it at the bottom. So when I stitch it at the bottom part where I stitch is going to be serving as the middle. Okay, so now what we're going to go ahead and do now is to start our stitches. So in order to have accuracy, I decided to measure half inches on one of the bodies, so that I'm going to be using it as a guide to overlay my flap. So in order for you to have accurate stitches, you can actually use a super glue. Okay, you can actually use a super glue and just glue it. But before then, make sure you sew these places that I am showing you so that it will come out neat. So after I sew it, the next thing you're going to go ahead and do now is to start stitching. So you could actually use a super glue. I love using the super glue. It's my trusty super glue for keeping my work in place, in check, so that when I'm sewing with my blackhead machine, nothing will move around. Okay, so I'm just going to be putting super glue. I'm so sorry, I didn't know that this part didn't show, but what I was doing on this other end was actually what I was doing on the other end. Okay, so you go ahead and put your super glue. Make sure you're putting it on the lines. Make sure you're putting it on the lines. I just realized it now and I decided to adjust the camera. So like I said, make sure you're putting it on the lines. Then you go ahead and give it a straight stitch. All right, go ahead and give it a straight stitch. Make sure you're sewing it double. You're giving it double stitches. Okay, you are giving it double stitches so that it will stick, and not actually move around. Okay, so if you're still watching to this moment, you're the real Odogun, please give me a thumbs up if you are learning one or two from this tutorial. It actually means a lot to me. It actually tells YouTube that we are doing something amazing here, and it will help share this channel to other people who are in need of this channel. So please, 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 please give me a thumbs up, and also don't forget to say something nice in the comment section. If you have any question, feel free to drop all your questions in the comment section as well, and I'm sure to answer them in due time. So after I was done with the zipper placement, the next thing I'm going to be doing is to be getting the middle of the second panel. Okay, I'm going to get the middle of the two panels because I'm going to be putting my zipper placement on the two. So you are going to go ahead and give it a top stitch. Okay, so in order to have accuracy, like I said, I love using my super glue. You can also use your super glue. Okay, you can also use your super glue to hold it in place so that when you are stitching, it will not move around, most especially this one that has the flap. So I would advise you use your super glue to keep it in place so that when you are sewing, it will not stress you out. So when you want to sew, you sew from the beginning to the end so that it will have straight stitches. Okay, so that it will have straight stitch. You just sew it from the beginning to the end. You go ahead and do the same thing on the second side. Okay, you're not putting your super glue all the way. As you can see, I'm just putting small, just enough to just keep it in place. Okay, the super glue is not what I am using for the project. I'm just using it to just keep it in place for easy stitches. So you're just going to stitch it from one end to the other end, from one end to the other end. So after you're done, this is what it looks like. You see, we are done with our zipper panels. Now the next thing to do, which is the most important thing, is fixing of the side. So as you can see what I'm doing, honestly, I'm just measuring 2 lines on my tape rule. This is very important if you want your, what's it called, if you want your side to be even. You can do it whichever way you want. If you are an expert, you can just go to your sewing machine and start fixing the side directly. But if you are like me, who wants everything to come out well, or who don't like making mistake, or you are just a beginner starting out and you want to avoid errors, then do this. At the edge, put your tape at the edge of the bag and measure 2 lines following the shape of the bottom of the bag, the way you see me I'm doing like this. I decided to take my time to show you guys this part so that you would not say I am just saying it, I did not show it, so that you will know what I am saying and understand it and also see it. So after I made the dash line, I used my biro to connect the lines. So at the end of the day, this is what the lines look like. So I'm going to be getting the middle of my bag, then I'm going to be putting my side, okay, on top, right side, wrong side facing the right side of the body of the bag. So I'm going to be putting my super glue on that line. Okay, I'm going to be putting my super glue on that line. So now when you get to the curvy part, my dear, you go do work. Oh, it's not it's not as easy as it looks. This is like 5 times speed. 5 times speed on this part of the bag, because as in when I added all the videos together, it was like 50 to 60 minutes long. No, I don't have that data. I don't have that data. So I had to like forward it like 5 times long. Okay, so this is what it looks like. You have to be like very very careful, making sure that you are not obstructing your leather and the process. Okay, so when I was done, this is what it actually looks like. This is what it would looks like. Okay, so it's like 5 times speed. Okay, this is what it looks like. So when you're done with the taping, you are going to go ahead and use you're going to go ahead and sew it on your sewing machine. So this is just me adding extra gum to places that do not stick properly, so that when I am sewing, nowhere will remove. Nowhere will remove. I no wan make anything remove, my dear, so that nowhere will remove. It's actually not easy. This bag is very very tedious. This bag is very very tedious. So after you sew it, this is what it should look like. So you are stitching on everything. Okay, now the next thing you're going to go ahead and do is to fix your handle. As you can see, I have excess on the side of the bag. Yes, me, I like doing my side excess in case of incasity. At least it better make it plenty than it small. So for the handle, you could do anything for the handle, but me, I just decided to just do a simple strap. It's just actually a 1 inches in length strap. I don't even measure the length. The length is determined by you. So I went ahead and sew it as a box, and I attached a shorter one to the other side, and I added a D-ring. So this is what it looks like when I was done stitching. So I'm not cutting off the excess because I wanted to finish the whole bag, then cut off any excess that is left. Okay, the excess, like I said, was intentional, so that the bag no go, so that in case of incasity, like I said, it's better for the side to be too much than for it to be too small, like I always say. So now we are going to repeat the same thing we did, 2 lines all round, my dear. I'm not going to show all the process of this one because I've already showed you what to do on the previous one. Okay, so 2 lines on all the, like as usual, you're going to draw your 2 lines. Okay, so when I was done drawing the 2 lines, this is what it should look like. Then I am now going to start fixing. So be careful. If you make mistake at this point, you are a goner. So this is how you are going to be placing the other parts. Okay, you are going to be putting the front part inside the bag, then you are going to be pressing it. You are going to be pressing it on your super glue. Make sure you're putting the super glue on your lines, and make sure you're being very very careful, because that super glue, they spoil material. So if you're not being very careful, you can damage your work, and we really don't want that. Okay, so you continue doing it. So this is just me checking and making sure I am doing the right thing before I now go and do mistake and waste my I waste my material. So after I was done with all the super gluing, this is just me adding extra glue, so that I will be sure that my work is how I want it to be. Then I will now go to my sewing machine and stitch. When I'm done stitching, then I'll cut off the excess on the side. So guys, this is to also inform you guys that registration of our online masterclass are going on. This class is a 1 month intensive, structured and detailed training on bag making, from structured bags to travel bags to tote bags. This class is going to carry everything. If you are finding it difficult to make lunch compartments in tote bags, join this class. If you don't know how to make travel bags with shoe compartment, join this class. If you don't know how to make structured bags 100% gum work, join this class. If you don't know how to make travel bags, if you don't know how to make party bags, join this class. This class is all about that. So call the number on the screen for more information, call the number on the screen for payment, and call the number on the screen for any enquiries. So back to our today's class. So I've gone ahead and stitched it. It was not easy, my dear. It was not easy. I will not lie to you. It was not easy, but you just have to push through, and you will be very very careful while stitching, so that you not make wrong stitches and your bag will not sew wrong place. But at the end of the day, this is what it looks like, guys. The bag came out nice. I loved it, but it was actually a lot of work. Anyways, the next thing to do is to add the final touches, which is to add your runner and to put your final stopper and to also put your bag stand or your lock. Sorry, you put your lock. So you can put any lock of choice. I decided to choose this lock. I have a tutorial on how to fix it on the channel in case you don't know how to do and in case you don't know how to go about it. So after I fixed the lock, guys, this is the final look of the bag. The bag came out nice and I loved it. So guys, thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe if you've not, and also turn on the notification bell so that you get notified whenever I post in new tutorials. Give me a thumbs up if you learned one or two from this tutorial. Don't forget to say something nice in the comment section. Feel free to drop all your questions if you have any. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you guys in my next tutorial. Bye for now.